that is polar plot, it is not possible to understand the concept of the frequency response. So here we'll start with unit number 4. After unit number 4 completion, we'll go back to unit number 3 and cover only the Bode plot. So here, the frequency response is one of the most commonly used stability analysis, as well as the method used to analyze the system. Basically because the disadvantage of time response analysis is that time response analysis pertains to a particular order of a system. That means a time response analysis is separately studied for 0th order system, 1st order system, 2nd order system, and higher order system. But the problem in the time response analysis is performing a higher order system analysis is physically very difficult and impossible, and only can be done with the help of a computers. So it will not come in a purview of classical control theory. It will come under the purview of modern control theory. You can use any number of softwares like MATLAB, and thereby which you can anybody can perform the time response analysis of a system which is more than 2nd order, that is higher order system. But there is no such thing in frequency response analysis. The frequency response analysis has one standard method, and it has nothing to do with the order of the system. Basically because the time response analysis is called as transient response analysis. Transient response analysis means as time tends to infinity, before time tending to infinity. So it is called as transient response analysis. Whereas a frequency response analysis is basically a steady state response. Steady state response means time t as it approaches infinity. So here the transient response is below t is equal to infinity, where it is as t tends to infinity. So the steady state response analysis is more preferred also, and the frequency response analysis for most of the components, as you might have seen, are displayed on the products itself. Like say if you buy any audio products in the market, like say CD player, tape recorders, or the other audio visual players like TVs and all, you will find that on the packaging itself the frequency response analysis is plotted. Reason is, the flatter the frequency response analysis for audio products, it is preferred. Like means, what is frequency response analysis means? In time response analysis, we have a plot of output versus time. So if you have a plot of output versus time, it is time response analysis. Whereas if you have a plot of output versus frequency, it is frequency response analysis. Frequency response analysis. So here, for the most audio visual products like say TV or music system or so, it is better to have a very flat frequency response curve like this. That means, see, when it comes to a consumer electronics products, the range of frequency is generally between 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz. That is where the human ear can pick up that signal. So in that range, the response should be flat. That means irrespective of frequency, output should remain same. So it is not possible for most of the equipment, because most of the system's output depends upon the frequency. So for cheap products, you will find the curve is more like a bell-shaped curve. Whereas for costlier products, you will find it is more flatter. That means here the costlier the products, there are more components, there are different set of amplifiers, there are separate dividing circuits whereby which you can segregate the frequency and attenuate those frequencies in that range. For example, if you come across the music system, if you buy a cheap ones, say around 500 rupees or 1000 rupees worth music system, you will find only one speaker in that. That is, that is normal radio or whatever it is you buy, which will be below 500 rupees, you will have only one speaker. So in such music systems, you will find the output is not very good. That means it may be loud, but the thing is, at low frequencies and at very high frequencies, those outputs are not audible. Whereas if you go and buy costlier systems, like we end up in paying like branded systems like say Bose systems or JBL systems or say Philips systems in India. So in that case, costlier the system, the attenuation throughout the frequency is almost same. That means this is achieved by having more number of amplifiers, more number of filters, etc., etc. So the flatter the curve, better it is for most of the audio systems. This is pertaining to audio systems or consumer electronic system. It is not applicable to other type of a system. So basically, the frequency response analysis here we are going to find out the output versus frequency graph. In time response analysis, we found the output versus time graph. Now we have output versus frequency response. Another difference between the two is a time response analysis, a transient response analysis. That means it is time which is physical, that means less than infinity. Whereas in the steady state response, this is frequency response is a steady state response, and hence as time approaches infinity, we are going to do. In short time duration, what happens to the system output, we are not bothered. Now, another advantage of the frequency response analysis is ease of performing the frequency response. That means in time response analysis, we have used the standard test signals like step input, impulse input or ramp input. So here you got the three separate responses depending on the type of the input. And it also depends on the order of the system. Now here in the frequency response analysis, we have only one input, that is sinusoidal input. For any sinusoidal input, that is R of t, input is always, as you know, represented by R and output is represented by C. So if you see the R of t as an input, so here you can see the graph of a sinusoidal wave like this, and any sine wave is represented by amplitude and frequency relations with sine function, that is A sine omega t. A sine omega t. That means A is the amplitude of the sine wave and omega is the frequency of the sine wave. A is the amplitude and omega is the frequency. Now, if you take any system, for example, if you have any function g of s, so this is after taking Laplace transform, R of s becomes A omega square divided by s square plus omega square. By the way, you know that after taking the Laplace transform of sine omega t becomes omega square divided by s square plus omega square, whereas A amplitude gets multiplied as usual. If suppose you have a transfer function g of s, which is general transfer function, it may consist of certain poles and certain zeros. That means some numerators or denominator functions. Say you have something like say k into s plus z1 into s plus z2 so on, whereas divided by s plus p1 into s plus p2 so on. That means in general a transfer function may contain certain number of zeros and certain number of poles. Depending on the number of poles and number of zeros, the order of system may be more or less or whatever it is. Now, to see the output of this system, as usual, what you have to do is G of S is equal to C of S into R of S is into R of S, that is K into S plus Z1 so on divided by S plus P1 so on. Whereas I am substituting R of S now, this R of S goes on the other side, it will become K into S plus Z1 so on divided by S plus P1 so on into R of S. I am substituting the value of R of S from this side. Now, if you want to take C of t, that is inverse Laplace of C of S, if I want to take inverse Laplace of this, is equal to inverse Laplace of right hand side if you take the inverse Laplace on both sides, then inverse Laplace of C of S becomes C of t. To take the inverse Laplace on the other side, you have to use the partial fractions method. So in the partial fractions method, as usual, you know, corresponding to each one denominator, we will have one partial fractions. Like say, A0 upon S plus P1 plus A1 or A1 upon S plus P1, A2 upon S plus P2, so on for this part. Whereas corresponding to this part, there will be two partial fractions. Corresponding to that part, there will be two partial fractions. That is, the two partial fractions, I will write it as B divided by B1 divided by S square plus omega square. S square plus omega square can be written as S plus j omega whole square. Is it correct? Or S plus j omega into S plus j omega. Or that is, I will write S plus j omega into S plus, S minus, I made a mistake. I made a mistake here. S plus j omega into S minus j omega. If I write S plus j omega into S minus j omega, so as per the rule, A plus B into A minus B, that is A square minus B square. A square is S square. B square is j omega whole square. So j square is minus 1, minus of minus plus 1. So it will become S square plus omega square. Same as that. So this can be written as S plus j omega plus B2 into S minus j omega. Two partial fractions will be there for the sine function. Remaining partial fractions A1, A2, A3, A4, depending on the order of the system, that many partial fractions will be there for the transfer function of the system. Now what happens is, if you take a inverse Laplace of this now, after finding out the values of A1, I am not going to find out the values of A1, A2, B1, B2, etc., etc. What I am going to find out, after I want to prove that these partial fractions are meaningless. Basically because if I take the inverse Laplace after finding out the value of A, so this can be written as A1 into e to the power minus P1 into t. E to the power minus P1 into t. Then the next one will become A2 into e to the power minus P2 into t. So on. And then this function, remaining this part, is a sine function once again. It is a sine function once again. That means it will become equal to b into sine omega t plus phi. And that is because this is once again a sine function, but it gets multiplied by some value, and because of that the amplitude changes. Amplitude, instead of A, it will change to B. So A may be more, B may be less, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. This, if it is A, that will become B. It depends on the other systems. Whereas omega will not change. Omega will remain, that means frequency will remain as it is. But it will either lead or lag, depending on the value of phi. Now if you take t tends to infinity, because what we have discussed already, that frequency response analysis is basically a steady state response analysis. A steady state response means you have to take t tends to infinity. If you put t is equal to infinity here, anything to the power minus infinity is 0. So all these things will vanish. So whatever may be the components of the system, that means it may be a first order system, it may be second order system, or third order, or 10th order system also, all these components of that for steady state response will become 0. Only thing is that part b sine omega t plus phi will remain. Only thing is, depending on the transfer function g of s, the value of b and phi goes on changing. Value of b and phi goes on changing, but omega remains omega. That means if the input frequency of sine wave is omega, output frequency of the sine wave is also omega. Only thing what it changes is the magnitude or amplitude will change from A to B. Assuming B is greater than A, it will become like this. That means this is A, this is B, and there is a phase lag of phi. Or there may be a phase lead also. That means this phase angle will come on this side, that output will lead the input sometimes. But generally, if the system is stable, there will be always a phase lag. Only for unstable system, sometimes you will get a negative phase lag, that means phase lead. So our job now has become very, very simple. Whatever may be the type of system, if you want to find out its frequency response analysis, what you have to do is find out the magnitude and phase angle. And from that, you find out the response. So here, in time response analysis, we are going to change the time, but now we are going to change the frequency. And we are going to plot the two things, that is one phase and another one is magnitude. So two outputs cannot be plotted on the single graph if you go for rectangular plot. So it is easier to plot a polar plot where both magnitude or amplitude and phase angle can be represented in a single plot by changing the value of omega. So here in frequency response analysis, we are going to increase the frequency from 0 to infinity. So omega value will change from 0 to infinity. If we change the omega value from 0 to infinity, how magnitude B and how phase angle will change, that relationship is called as frequency response analysis. So I hope it will be clear to you that up to here we have studied the difference between the time response analysis and a frequency response analysis. Then we have seen the advantages of frequency response analysis over time response analysis. And another major thing is, as the frequency response analysis is very easy compared to time response analysis without the use of computer. So it is in 99% of the cases for the most of the system stability is basically studied by using a frequency response analysis rather than time response analysis. Now here first thing is, in this particular topic of frequency response analysis, there are two things we are going to do. First is we are going to plot the relationship between phase angle and amplitude with respect to frequency. So the method of determining the relationship between the phase angle and frequency and magnitude is called as representation by using some or other plots. There are two methods of plotting the things. One is by polar plot. In polar plot, we are going to represent a frequency and phase angle plot and magnitude and phase angle plot in a single plot called as a polar plot. Whereas the another method is, for that we are going to use the polar coordinates. Whereas the another method is by using the logarithmic plots. Logarithmic plots are also called as Bode plots. This Bode plot is in unit number 3. So unless I cover the polar plot, it is not wise to cover Bode plot. So I am at present leaving that. We'll come to that later. So first let us complete unit number 4 and then we move back to unit number 3. Now here in a polar plot, it is going to be written in a polar coordinates. For example, what is the difference between a rectangular coordinate and a polar coordinate? In root locus technique, you have drawn what is known as a rectangular plot. In root locus technique, we have drawn a rectangular plot of sigma and j omega, where sigma is called as real part of the root and omega is called as imaginary part of the root. It is never represented as real and imaginary axis, but it is always represented as real part, that is sigma and j omega axis. Here, suppose if the point is somewhere here, z, then its real part is x and imaginary part is y. So z can be represented as x plus iy, where x is the real part and y is the imaginary part. I indicates the imaginary operator. Now in polar coordinate, instead of representing z by measuring along x-axis and measuring along y-axis, that is along sigma axis or j omega axis, instead of sigma and j omega, we call it as real axis and imaginary axis. So here we are going to represent real and here we are going to represent imaginary. So real is x and imaginary is y. Even though the value x and y are both real, y is called imaginary because it is operated by I. So instead of measuring x along x-axis, y along y-axis and representing z here in a rectangular coordinate, I will represent in a polar coordinate. This is in a polar coordinate. In a polar coordinates, the representation is magnitude and phase angle. Magnitude and phase angle. So this is called as magnitude. This distance is called as magnitude. Where the x coordinate is x, y coordinate is y, and by using the Pythagoras theorem, this is nothing more than a hypotenuse. So this distance is magnitude, which is equal to, magnitude is given by the root of real part square plus imaginary part square. Root of real part square plus imaginary part square. And this is called as m. And only magnitude will not be sufficient. only magnitude will not be sufficient. You have to find out what is known as this phase angle also. This phase angle is generally measured from positive real axis in a counterclockwise direction. Positive real axis is this real axis. This is negative real axis. This is positive imaginary axis. This is negative imaginary axis. So the positive real axis, from that you have to measure in a counterclockwise direction. That angle is called as positive angle. So phase angle is generally represented by phi, which is equal to, see, this is, if you make a tan phi, it is opposite side upon base. So phi is tan inverse of opposite side, that is imaginary part divided by real part. So from this way you can convert a rectangular system into a polar coordinate system. So henceforth in frequency response analysis we will be dealing only in the polar coordinates as far as polar plot and Nyquist plots are concerned. Whereas for Bode plot, once again we are going back to a rectangular coordinate system, as there are two separate plots, one for phase angle and one for magnitude. Now that means in a polar plot, this polar plot is a plot where we are going to find out the values of frequency and phase angle, magnitude and phase angle by changing the frequency from 0 to infinity. And we are going to plot it on a curve. For that purpose, we can start with the simple systems. We can take up certain simple, what are called as standard polar plots. In polar plots, we come across what are known as standard polar plots and non-standard polar plots. So first let us study what is meant by a standard polar plot. Standard polar plot means either it is a first order system or a second order system, or the first order system, second order system with one pole at origin or something like that. So first I will take one first order system. Suppose this is G of S. In G of S, it is equal to, for convenience I will take it as 1 plus S plus T1. This is a typical first order system where T1 is the time constant of the system that we have studied in time response analysis. But here in control engineering or in frequency response analysis, as we are moving from rectangular coordinate system, that is sigma and j omega axis system, to real and imaginary axis system. So what we have to do is we have to replace S by j omega. We have to replace S by j omega. Sorry, instead of this, we can take it as 1 plus Ts. This is better, which is standard. 1 Ts plus S also can be taken, but instead of, to start with, we can go with 1. Here also in the numerator also there is no necessity that it should be 1. It can be any other constant other than 1, but it has to be a constant only. So this is called as a first order pole. This is called as first order pole. Pole because everything is in the denominator. So this is called as first order pole, and constants are 1 for assumption simplicity. If you have a k there, you have to, everything gets multiplied by k value. Now substitute S is equal to j omega. Wherever there is S is there, including here, G of j omega is equal to 1 plus T j omega. 1 plus T j omega. Now we have to draw a polar plot of this. That means we have to first find out its magnitude and phase angle. So let us find out the magnitude first. magnitude of g of j omega. Magnitude is represented by two parallel lines, and magnitude doesn't have sign generally. That means everything is positive, but not in polar plots. It can have a negative value also. So here magnitude means here it is size, not mod. So here if you say like this, it can be written as per the definition of the magnitude, it is under root of real part square plus imaginary part square. So in the numerator also and denominator also you have to follow that. In the numerator, real part is only there and no imaginary part is there. So the real part is 1, imaginary part is 0, 1 square under root is 1 only. So in the numerator it will be 1 only, or in general it will be k only. Suppose instead of 1 you have a k here, k is one number or some value, it may be 6.5, 3.2, anything. So in that case, squaring that and taking the root of that will not make any change. It will remain same. So denominator here, if you substitute, real part is 1, 1 square is 1, and imaginary part square is t omega whole square or plus t omega whole square. This is what is a magnitude. Then if you have a phase angle phi, phase angle can be represented by tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part. Now in the numerator we have no imaginary part, we have only real part. So tan inverse of imaginary part is 0, 0 divided by anything is 0, tan inverse of 0 is 0. So the numerator angle in this case becomes 0. Now here one thing you have to do is the angle case, instead of dividing them you have to subtract them. So angle of numerator minus angle of denominator, this is what is the method followed. So the angle of numerator is 0 only because the imaginary part is 0. So the angle of denominator, that is minus, so minus tan inverse of the imaginary part divided by real part. Come back, don't see this magnitude part. You see the original problem, g of j omega. That real part is 1, imaginary part is t omega. J should not be considered. J indicates imaginary operator. So leaving that, t omega you have to take. Tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part, that is tan inverse of y divided by x, that is equal to t omega divided by 1 or t omega only. So this angle will be minus. Now you make the chart. Common method is, see, we are going to change the frequency from omega, that is 0 to infinity. That means you are not going to plot all the infinity values. So in one problem only you cannot complete the whole of your life in that case. So we have to see the end conditions. End conditions are what is the minimum value and what is the maximum value. See, one more thing you remember here in a polar plot is omega cannot be negative. It can be only 0. So here I will take the value of omega, here I will take magnitude, here I will take phase angle. And the two end conditions of omega are 0 and infinity. 0 and infinity. So in the magnitude equation, if you put omega is equal to 0, in the magnitude equation, if you put omega is equal to 0, 1 divided by root of 1 plus 0. So root of 1 is 1, 1 upon 1 is 1. So magnitude remains 1 only. Then angle is, see the angle equation, put omega is equal to 0. Tan inverse of 0 is 0. So it will be minus 0. Minus 0 or plus 0 doesn't make any sense. 0 means positive real axis. Positive real axis is 0 axis. So, and whether you take it as positive or negative, it will remain the same axis. Then second value is, put omega is equal to infinity in the magnitude as well as in the phase angle formula. In the magnitude formula, if you put infinity here, infinity multiplied by anything is infinity, infinity square is infinity, plus 1 is also infinity, root of that is also infinity. Anything divided by infinity is 0. So the magnitude will become 0. And angle is tan inverse of omega is infinity, tan inverse of infinity is 90 degrees. This sign is negative, so it will be minus 90. Now you have to plot it. To plot it, this is the real axis, this is real axis, this is imaginary axis. So this is positive, this is negative, this is positive, this is negative. But as we are drawing in a polar coordinates, not in a rectangular coordinates, and we have to identify the angles also. If you identify the angles, the positive real axis is 0 and angle has to be measured in a counterclockwise direction. So this is 0, so this becomes 90, this becomes 180, this becomes 270, 0 and 360 will coincide. At the same time, if the angle is measured in a clockwise direction, it has to be measured in a negative sense. That means if this is 0, this also becomes minus 90, this also becomes minus 80, this also becomes minus 270. So if you measure the angle in counterclockwise direction, it is 0, 90, 180, 270. In clockwise direction, it will be minus 90, minus 180, minus 270. See, what is the point in telling this positive and negative is, in most of the problems, there are more number of poles than zeros. That means the denominator part is larger compared to the numerator part. Hence, most of the cases, the angles will be negative only, not positive. So that's why you should know that is 270 line also corresponds to minus 90 line, plus 180 minus 180 line is same, 0 and 360 line is same, plus or minus, whereas 90 and minus 270 lines are same. Similarly, then we can have what is known as, this is first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant as usual. So it doesn't have much of importance in this particular chapter as such. Now, if you want to plot now this polar plot of this particular problem, so first one, when omega is equal to 0, angle is 0. First identify the angle. The line on which the magnitude has to be plotted has to be identified. So the first line is 0 line. So 0 line is this one only. 0 line is this one only means on that you have to measure the magnitude equal to 1 unit. Where the magnitude has to be measured, it is all measurements from origin. In polar coordinates, all the measurements are from origin only. So here, from here you measure the distance of 1 unit and mark it. This is point number 1. This is our point number 1. This is our point number 2. Done. Mark the second point. For second point, omega is equal to infinity. Angle is minus 90. Minus 90 line is this one. On that you have to measure from origin. So from origin you have to measure the distance equal to magnitude, that is 0. So on this line you measure 0, that means here only. So the point is at 2 is at the origin. But it is, remember here one thing, it is not anywhere on the origin, but it is along the line of minus 90 on the origin. So only thing is distance is 0, that's why it has come to origin. It can be anywhere on this line depending on this magnitude value. So with these 2 points, it is not possible to draw a polar plot. Basically because it can be, you cannot draw from here, as omega increases, this plot will not come like this, may or may not. So here what we have to do is, we have to find out one third point. So for third point, what I will do is, when omega is equal to 1 upon t, So this is called as corner frequency. This is called as corner frequency. I will put omega is equal to 1 upon t. This is the third point. If I put omega is equal to 1 upon t in the magnitude equation, what will happen? Just see. Here this will remain 1, this will be 1, this will be t, this will be 1 upon t. T upon t will cancel, so it will become 1 square. So this is 1, this is 1, so 2, 1 upon root 2 will be the magnitude. 1 upon root 2 will be the magnitude. And for the angle equation, if you see, this is 0 minus tan inverse of t is t, omega is 1 upon t. So t and t cancel, so tan inverse of 1 is 45 degrees. So 0 minus 45 means it is 45 minus 45 degrees. So this is our third point. See, actually 45 degree line is not there in our graph. So you have to manually draw one 45 degree line. So 45 degree line is not positive but negative. So positive 45 degree line is upwards, whereas negative 45 degree line is downwards. This is minus 45 degree line. So this is making in a clockwise direction, so minus 45 degrees. On that line, you draw a distance of 1 upon root 2 along that. So this is point number 3. So now you can draw the graph. So the polar plot starts from here. See here, one common sense question is, if you see this distance 1 upon root 2, this is also 1 upon root 2 only. If this distance is 1 upon root 2, if you join this point with this point, that will also become 1 upon root 2. That means this angle, as both the sides are same, it is 90 degrees because its angle is in semicircle. So this becomes a semicircle. This becomes a semicircle because this is 1 upon root 2, this distance is 1 upon root 2, this distance is 1. Correct? This distance is 1, this is 1 upon root 2, 1 upon root 2. So this is a semicircle, and there is on the graph I have shown one pointer, that is the direction in which omega is increasing. So omega is 0 here, point number 1, and omega at point number 3 is 1 upon 1 upon t, and here it has become infinity. So omega is increasing. So this is the polar plot of a simple first order pole. A simple first order pole. Now we can go one step further. That means let us go for a second order system. In a second order system, what I will do is, in second order system there have to be two roots. Two roots means let us consider two poles. So two poles means one pole is this one and another pole at origin I will take. So the first order, the second order system have two combinations. One pole at origin and one first order pole. That is one combination. Or two first order poles also can be another combination. So I will take this, that is one pole at origin, that is S is equal to 0, and another pole is at S is equal to minus 1 upon t. Now, first thing, as usual, you have to substitute S is equal to j omega. So you can write j omega into bracket 1 plus tj omega. Then if you want to draw a polar plot of that, see, remember one thing is, polar plot will give you only relationship between the frequency and phase angle and magnitude, nothing more than that. It will not give you any stability analysis. So this is basically like your time response analysis. In time response analysis, you will not come to know anything about the stability. You will come to know the system behavior. For in time domain, if you want to find out the stability analysis, either you have to use the Routh stability criteria or root locus technique. So unless you use the Routh stability criteria or root locus technique, it is not possible to find out the stability of the system. But the time response analysis gives you idea how the system behaves, whether there is a oscillatory response, whether there is a over damped system, whether it is a under damped system. That those ideas only you will come to know. Similarly, a polar plot basically gives you a frequency response only. It will not give any idea about the stability of the system. But just like Routh stability criteria, here also polar plots can be used to find out the relative stability. Out of two systems, which is more stable, that can be found out by using a polar plot with little modification. That is what is known as, you have to find out what is known as gain margin and phase margin. The concept of gain margin and phase margin can be studied only after we study the Nyquist plot. So at present we'll leave that, we'll not bother about the gain margin and phase margin. But in the exam, you remember that in the polar plot problem also you may be asked to find out the gain margin and phase margin. So but I am not going to cover it 2 times. So it is, for me it will be a repetition otherwise. So I will do it along with the Nyquist plot, because the Nyquist plot is also a extension of the polar plot only. So if I do like this, then if you see this system, once again find out the magnitude. Magnitude is 1 upon, because the numerator is 1, that means it will not change. Magnitude of omega square, see here, real part square plus imaginary part square. So this will remain as it is, root of 1 plus t omega whole square. It will remain as it is. For this imaginary part square means it is a omega square. But you have to take a under root of that. So when you take the under root of that, it will become omega only. Now once again prepare a table just like we have done it for the previous problem, that is omega, magnitude, angle. Sorry, I have to do one more thing, that is angle part. So the angle I will write, angle of the numerator, because it is 1 constant only, imaginary part is 0, so it is 0, minus, here if you see this part or this part, tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part for this. What is a real part? 0. What is imaginary part? Omega. So tan inverse of omega divided by 0 is tan inverse of infinity. Tan inverse of infinity is 90 degrees. As it is in the denominator, it is minus 90 degrees. So minus 90 minus this angle. Instead of addition, it gets added. Numerator will get added, denominator will get added. But denominator sign is negative, so negative. Numerator sign is positive, so positive. So minus 90 minus tan inverse, we have already done it. Tan inverse of t omega or omega t. Tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part. Now, if you put omega is equal to 0, first value, if you put omega is equal to 0, magnitude, see here, magnitude, what will happen? Anything divided by 0 is infinity. So the magnitude will become infinity. And angle, if you put angle, omega is equal to 0. So tan inverse of 0 is 0. So minus 90 will remain as it is. So this will be minus 90. Say, let us call this as point number 1. Then the end value, that is, as usual, first we will go with 2 values only in most of the cases, because these are going to be a standard polar plot. Once you know how the nature of the plot will be. So by looking at the problem only, you should be in a position to draw that plot without actually doing all these calculations, because it is quite simple, and these are called as standard polar plots. You can open any book and there such standard polar plots are shown. So if you go for any book, this is Nagaraj Gopal, but any control engineering book, you will get the set of standard polar plots with different notations, of course. So second one is when you put omega is equal to infinity. If you put omega is equal to infinity, anything divided by infinity is 0. And tan inverse of, see this is 90 as it is. So tan inverse of infinity is 90. 90, 90 both are negative, so minus 180. This is second point. So if you plot it here, so the first point is line is minus 90. Minus 90 is this line. On that you have to plot infinity. How to plot infinity? Infinity means it never comes or it will never meet that line. So you have to draw a parallel line to this axis. So now there are two ways of drawing the parallel lines. I can draw it on this side parallel or this side parallel, because both are minus 90 only. So that we'll see later. But I know here it will be on this side. Why? I will prove it. So the one parallel line to this is point number 1. It will start at infinity when omega is 0. So second point is magnitude is 0 on line minus 180. Minus 180 line is this one. So on minus 180 line you measure the distance from origin 0. That is origin itself. So the second point will be at origin and the plot will be like this. And the plot will be like this. Why I will say it is like this? We can prove it. We can prove it by not like this. The plot is not like this. I will prove that. Because I have to find out the distance between these two lines. That distance between these two lines can be found out by a method called as rationalization. This method is very useful in other non-standard polar plots frequently. This is called as rationalization. So first, as usual, g of j omega 1 upon omega into 1 plus j omega into t, by substituting s is equal to j omega that we have started. Now in rationalization what we do, we'll separate real parts and imaginary parts. To separate the real parts and imaginary parts, if the real and imaginary parts are in the denominator, it is practically not possible to separate them. But if they are in the numerator, we can easily separate them. So by some method, we eliminate the imaginary parts in the denominator. How to eliminate the imaginary part in the denominator is by multiplying it by complex conjugate of that. If we multiply the complex conjugate of that, that is, this I can s is equal to j omega, I will take along with that also. Actually it is meaningless, but we can do like that because we have substituted s is equal to j omega. If we don't substitute j there, doesn't make much difference, but will only it is question of making sign. So here to rationalize it, I will multiply and divide by the complex conjugate of that. So I will multiply by and divide by a complex conjugate of this. J omega's complex conjugate is minus j omega. And complex conjugate of this is 1 minus t j omega. 1 minus t j omega. See, when I am multiplying it and dividing it by a same quantity, that means I am multiplying it by 1 and dividing it by 1. So practically I have not changed anything. Now if you see this, this can be written as minus j omega into bracket 1 minus t j omega divided by j omega into j omega is j square omega square. This is minus, this is plus, means it is minus, but j square is minus 1, so it will become omega square plus omega square. Whereas this part 1 plus tj omega into 1 minus tj omega is a plus b into a minus b is a square minus b square, but minus b square, j square is minus 1, so it will become 1 plus t square omega square, if you believe, not minus. Why not minus is j square becomes minus 1. So now if you see in the denominator there is no complex quantity. Only in the numerator we have a complex quantity. Now you separate the real and imaginary parts. If you separate the real and imaginary part, I need not bother about the denominator, it will remain constant. So it is omega square into bracket 1 plus t square omega square. In the numerator it will become minus j omega, minus of minus plus, once again minus, minus of minus plus, once again minus, because j square becomes minus 1. So minus t omega square. Is it okay? T omega square. Now this can be written as minus sign I will take common, minus omega I will take common. Then what remains inside is j minus t omega, j plus t omega divided by omega square into bracket 1 plus t square omega square. So this 1 omega cancels. So what remains here is minus j. So I will separate real and imaginary parts now. See, t omega is real part now. I will write that first. So with negative sign. So minus t omega divided by omega into 1 plus t square omega square is the real part, and minus j divided by omega into bracket 1 plus t square omega square. Okay. Now this omega and this omega also cancels. So what remains is minus t divided by 1 plus t square omega square, and this is minus j into bracket omega into bracket 1 plus t square omega square. Now you put the value. So at this point at this point omega is 0. If you put omega is equal to 0 here, if you see, if you put omega is equal to 0, j divided by 0, it will become infinity. So whereas this one, if you see here, omega is 0 means it will become minus t. So when omega is equal to 0, the two parts will be minus t divided by 1 minus j infinity. Correct? Minus j infinity. So the real part is minus t, imaginary part is infinity. So even though the polar plot is supposed to meet this as infinity, it is both real and imaginary parts are not infinity. Only the imaginary part is infinity. Real part is minus t. Minus t means what? This distance is equal to minus t. Why minus? It is on the left hand side of the origin. So the plot goes parallel to minus 90 line at a distance of t from towards left. Is it clear? So this method of rationalization is very much useful in determining where the polar plot is cutting either real axis or imaginary axis. So henceforth for higher order systems that will become very common. Now, we'll go for another polar plot. दोन तास 12ला 2 hours plus. आज 2 hours, उद्या 2 hours. Now in this particular problem, we have taken one first order pole and one pole at origin. Now, instead of that, I will take two first order poles. If I take two first order poles, then it will be like this: 1 plus T1s into 1 plus T2s. 1 plus T1s into 1 plus T2s. There will be two first order poles. One pole will be at minus 1 upon T1 and second pole will be at S is equal to minus 1 upon T2. T1 and T2 are time constant. They are normally a numbers, maybe fraction, maybe integer. In numerator also, it is not necessarily 1. For convenience, I am taking it as 1. In some books, it is given as K. So the plot will start from K instead of 1. It is starting 1 here. There it will start at K. Now, same method we have to follow. If you follow the same method, first thing in polar plot we have to do is, wherever there is S in the system, I will replace it by j omega. So 1 upon 1 plus T1 j omega and 1 plus T2 j omega. Then I will write the magnitude. Numerator there is 1, only real, so there is no question, so 1 will remain as it is. Under root of real part square plus imaginary part square, 1 square plus T1 square omega square, here 1 plus T2 square omega square. Angle of numerator, only real part, no imaginary part, so 0, minus tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part for this. So tan inverse of T1 omega upon 1 minus tan inverse of T2 omega divided by 1. So this is angle. Then as usual, I will make a chart for two end conditions: omega, magnitude, angle. Omega is equal to 0. If I put omega is equal to 0 in the magnitude equation, 0 plus 1 is 1 only, root of 1 is 1, 1, 1, 1. So the magnitude will remain 1, 1 upon 1. And the phase angle will be, if you put omega is equal to 0, tan inverse of 0 is 0, this is also 0, angle will remain 0, minus 0 or plus 0. Then second value is omega is equal to infinity. If you put omega is equal to infinity here, infinity square is infinity, anything divided by infinity is 0. So the magnitude will become 0. Phase angle, if you put omega is equal to infinity, tan inverse of infinity is 90, this is also 90, minus 90, minus 90, it is minus 180. Then if you plot the graph, see, as it is a standard polar plot, it will be a spiral like earlier. So the first point, angle is 0, that is this line. Angle is 0, this line. This is 0, minus 90, minus 180, minus 270. So angle is 0, magnitude is 1. On 0 line, measure the distance from origin 1 unit. You plot it. So this distance is 1 unit, or if it is k, then it will be k units. So that is the first point. Second point is when omega is equal to infinity, angle is minus 180. Minus 180 angle is this one. So on that you have to measure the distance 0. 0 means here. So point 2 will be at origin only. But remember, when the plot starts at 0 and goes up to minus 180, that means it has to cross over this minus 90 line. So this is standard polar plot. It will look like this. As omega goes on increasing, it will move like this. And here it will cut. Where it will cut? So that is a point of intersection with the imaginary axis. So at what value of omega it will cut that, and where it will cut it. These two things you have to identify. So for that purpose, you have no other method than that rationalization method which we have followed for the previous problem. So just rationalize it and find it. Just to rationalize it, I will multiply and divide by the same quantity with the negative sign. So this becomes 1 upon 1 plus T1 j omega, 1 plus T2 j omega, here multiplied by 1 minus T1 j omega, 1 minus T2 j omega, divided by 1 minus T1 j omega, 1 minus T2 j omega. Multiplying and dividing it by same complex quantity, same value. So this will become 1 minus T1 j omega, 1 minus T2 j omega. Here this plus this minus, so 1 square plus T1 omega whole square, minus this will sign becomes minus, but j square will make it once again plus. So it will become 1 plus T1 square omega square into 1 plus T2 square omega square. Then separate the real and imaginary parts by separating it in the numerator, because denominator doesn't contain any imaginary part. So the denominator will remain same, 1 plus T1 omega square, 1 plus T2 omega square. This will remain same. If you multiply it, it will become 1 minus T2 j omega minus no, sorry, 1 T2 j omega minus T1 j omega, minus of minus plus, once again minus T1 T2 omega square. So if you separate the variables, real part is this and this. So that is 1 minus T1 T2 omega square, and imaginary part, this is real part, 1 plus T1 omega square, 1 plus T2 omega square. It is with positive sign. Then this is minus, this is also minus. So minus sign I will take it common, and omega I will take it common, j omega I will take it common. In bracket, what will happen is T1 plus T2 will come, divided by 1 plus T1 omega square, 1 plus T2 omega square. This is after rationalization. This is after rationalization. Now I want to find, looking at the graph, where it cuts the minus 180 line. Minus 90 line. What is minus 90 line? It is the imaginary axis. It is negative imaginary axis. I am not bothered about whether it is negative imaginary axis or positive imaginary. Just it is imaginary axis. When the plot cuts the imaginary axis, its real part will be 0. See, we'll go back to rectangular coordinate system. See, in a rectangular coordinate system, if the point lies on x-axis, that means its y-coordinate is 0. Similarly, if the point lies on the y-axis, that means its x-coordinate is 0. So similarly, if the point lies on the imaginary axis, its real part will be 0. So put real part equal to 0 and get the value of omega. So put real part equal to 0. The real part is 1 minus T1 T2 omega square divided by is equal to 0. So I am not intentionally writing the denominator because it is anyway becoming 0. So that means 1 minus T1 T2 omega square is equal to 0. That means T1 T2 omega square is equal to 1, or omega is equal to 1 upon root T1 T2. This is the value of omega when the plot cuts the imaginary axis. So here the omega value is 0, here the omega value is infinity, here the omega value is 1 upon root T1 T2. So now put this value of omega, that is 1 upon root T1 T2, into imaginary parts to get that imaginary coordinate. So what I will do, the imaginary coordinate will be minus j omega into bracket T1 plus T2 divided by, this is the imaginary part, 1 plus T1 omega square 1 plus T2 omega square. This is the imaginary part. I will put the value of omega. So j will be always there, minus sign will be also there. Minus sign indicates clearly that is, it is negative imaginary axis. And j will be there just to indicate it is a imaginary value. So minus j omega. So minus j will be there, minus j omega value is 1 upon root T1 T2 into bracket T1 plus T2 whole thing divided by 1 plus T1 upon root of T1 T2, omega square is there, so it will become, root will vanish. Similarly, it will become 1 plus T2 divided by T1 plus T2, T1 T2. So if you simplify this, it is minus j into T1 plus T2 divided by root of T1 T2 whole thing divided by this T1 and this cancels. So this will become T2. So this and this cancels. So 1 plus 1 upon T2 will be T2 plus 1 divided by T2, and here T1 plus 1 divided by T1. Is it okay? So need a mistake. We'll come to it will finally come to root of T1 T2 divided by T1 plus T2. So this intercept, this value of intercept is root of T1 T2 divided by T1 plus T2. Okay. So this way, this is what is the plot. Now, so far we have seen three types of problems. One first order pole, then one first order pole at origin and first order pole, and then two first order poles. We can try to analyze these problems. So the first problem was 1 plus 1 upon Ts. This problem we got it like this. A semicircle starting from with a diameter of 1 unit. Then we have gone for the problem that is S divided by 1 plus Ts. This problem is something like this. Now the third problem what we have done, 1 upon 1 plus T1s, 1 plus T2s. This problem I will try to compare with this. See here, this problem is something like this. So these are called as standard polar plots. I will modify this plot slightly. The next plot I will modify like this with three poles, three first order poles. 1 upon 1 plus T1s, 1 plus T2s, 1 plus T3s, third pole. In that case, if you see by common sense, see for example, when there is only one pole, it is between 0 and 90, 0 and minus 90 angle. Here it is between 0 and minus 180 angle. So here naturally it will be between 0 and minus 270 angle. So this plot will be like this. That means it will cut both imaginary as well as real axis. So this, the plot will be like this. That means by addition of one first order pole, the plot will encircle additional minus 90 degrees. The rule says, I repeat, the rule says that when one first order pole is added to the system, the resultant polar plot will encircle additional minus 90 degrees. So here it was 0 to 90. By addition of one more pole, it has become 0 to minus 180. By addition of one more pole, it has become minus 270. So similarly, here one more pole means 1 plus T1s, 1 plus T2s, 1 plus T3s, 1 plus T4s. It will become additional one more 90 degrees. It will cut this, cut this, cut this, cut this. So it will go on becoming spiral. One more pole, another. Once again, it will cut this 2 times now. So it becomes like a spiral. So the rule says that when one pole, first order pole is added to the system, the resultant polar plot will encircle the origin by another minus 90 degrees. Similarly, if you see this system, it is like this. If corresponding to this, if this is 1 upon 1 upon s into bracket 1 plus t1s into 1 plus t2s. This is 1 upon 1 plus t1s into 1 plus t2s. Okay. Here I have added one pole to the origin to the system. What will happen is the resultant plot, if I add 1 to this, it is shifted by minus 90, not additional minus 90. It is shifted by minus 90. Here also it will get shifted. Instead of starting at 0, it will start at minus, and it will cut this, and here it will get shifted by additional minus 90. It will get shifted by additional minus 90. So it is as good as we are moving it here. So when we move it here, instead of minus 180, it will go to minus 270. Similarly, this problem, it is like this: s into 1 plus t1s, 1 plus t2s, 1 plus t3s. This problem, it will shift my minus 180. It will start here. It will cut here, cut here, cut here, like this. Shift by minus 180. Same problem here. S into 1 plus t1s, 1 plus t2s, 1 plus t3s, 1 plus t4s. This problem will be, it will start, it will here, like these are called as standard polar plots. Now, the advantage of polar plots is you will come to know the relationship between frequency, phase angle and magnitude. So, you will come to know the amplitude of resultant sine wave at various frequencies. So, when the frequency is x, what is the amplitude, that you will come to know. Amplitude means magnitude, and you will come to know how much is the phase lag, phi. How much is the phase lag. If the phase angle is coming out to be negative, then it is a phase lag. If it is coming out to be positive, then it will be phase lead. That means the output will lead the input. Whereas if the angle is negative, then it will be lagging behind. The output will be lagging behind the input. So that's why in most of the problems you will come to know that most of the cases the angle will be always minus only. That is because the output will be lagging the input. Only in the case the system is unstable, the phase may lead. So in most of the phase lead cases, the systems turn out to be unstable. That we'll see once we go for stability analysis. Then we can say some non-standard polar plots, because actually there is no significance for non-standard polar plot, because polar plot is not the major thing in control engineering. Everybody will continue up to the Nyquist plot. But as the syllabus, there is a separate question on the polar plot. That's why I am covering it here like that. Otherwise, there is only one chapter called as Nyquist plot, which the polar plot is the part of that. But here in our syllabus, some questions will come on polar plot separately. So that's why I am doing it. Then we can take some problems here. I will take one problem as such. G of s is equal to 4 divided by s into 1 plus 2s plus 1 plus 3s, say 4s. Actually, this is a standard polar plot only. It is like s 1 upon s divided by s plus t1s plus t2s. T1 value will be 2, T2 value will be 4, whereas instead of k value 1, it is 4. That is the only difference. So by common sense, you know the plot will be something like this. So here it will cut at two places, imaginary axis as well as real axis. So we do that. As usual, first thing you substitute s is equal to j omega. 4 divided by j omega into bracket 1 plus 2 j omega into 1 plus 4 j omega. This is what is our problem. Now write the magnitude equation. Magnitude 4 square under root is 4 only. Then this becomes omega square under root is omega. Then this becomes root of 1 plus 4 omega square, root of 1 plus 16 omega square. Then angle of 4 is 0, because tan inverse of imaginary part is 0. 0 divided by anything is 0 only. Tan inverse of 0 is 0. Minus, that is 0 minus. If you have a j omega here, tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part is 0. So tan inverse of infinity is 90. So when there is a j omega, it is minus 90 in the denominator. That's why minus. Then minus this one, tan inverse of imaginary part 2 omega divided by real part 1. Then minus tan inverse of imaginary part, that is 4 omega divided by real part, that is 1. This is the angle. Then I will determine the initial conditions: omega, magnitude, angle, omega 0. If you put omega 0 in the magnitude equation, here it is 0, anything divided by 0 is infinity, so magnitude becomes infinity. Then here if you put it in angle equation, if you put omega is equal to 0, this is minus 90 minus 0 minus 0, that is minus 90. Then the second value is, when you put omega is equal to infinity, when you put omega is equal to infinity in the magnitude equation, if you put omega is equal to infinity, anything divided by infinity is 0, angle is minus 90, this is also minus 90, this is also minus 90, that is minus 270. As it is a standard polar plot which we have already seen, the plot is like this. First value, omega is 0, magnitude is infinity, angle is minus 90 is here, and we know it will not cross this, it will be on this side only, it will start here and it will go parallel to this. That means its imaginary part will be infinity, but real part will be some constant, so we need not bother about it. Then second value is omega is equal to infinity, magnitude is 0, angle is minus 270, this is minus 90, minus 180, minus 270, on that line is 0. So here it will cut like this and move like this. Is it okay? This is a plot. Now I want to find out where it cuts the real axis and what is this intercept. So for that purpose, I have to do the rationalization. If I rationalize the system, see here, I have to multiply and divide by the complex conjugate quantity of that. So that is 4 into minus j omega into 1 minus 2j omega into 1 minus 4j omega. Is it okay? Divided by j omega into j omega is j square omega square, that is minus omega square, minus of minus plus omega square. 1 plus 2j omega into 1 minus 2j omega is 1 into 4 omega square plus sign. 1 plus 4 omega square and 1 plus 16 omega square for this. I hope it is clear to you. Now I will simplify that. Only numerator part I have to simplify. So 4 into minus j omega, this will become 1 minus 6j omega minus 8 omega square. Do you agree with this? 4 into 2, oh sorry, yes. Then if I take that inside, otherwise here I can simplify further. Omega square into 1 plus 4 omega square into 1 plus 16 omega square. This omega cancels. So I need not have to bother. Minus j into 1 minus 6j omega minus 8 omega square divided by omega into 1 plus 4 omega square 1 plus 16 omega square. I will take this inside. Minus j plus 6 omega minus 8j omega square. Do you agree? I have taken this j inside. So it will become 6 omega divided by omega into 1 plus 4 omega square into 1 plus 16 omega square minus j into bracket 1 minus 8 omega square divided by omega divided by 1 plus 4 omega square 1 plus 16 omega square. Now I want to find out where it cuts the real axis. When real axis, it cuts the real axis means imaginary part is 0. If you put imaginary part equal to 0, that means 1 minus 8 omega square is equal to 0. Correct? Because this is the imaginary part, this anyway goes on the other side 0. J has no meaning because j is to just indicate that it is imaginary. So 1 plus 8 omega square is equal to 0 means 8 omega square is equal to 1. Omega is 1 upon root 8. So when the plot cuts the real axis, the value of omega is 1 upon root 8. Root 8. So here it is 0, here it is infinity. Now I want to find out this intercept. This intercept, I have to put the value of that 1 upon root 8 into real part. So I will put it in a real part. This real part is 6 omega divided by omega into 1 plus 4 omega square. Actually it should be minus here, otherwise it has no meaning, because it will cut the negative imaginary real axis, you can see, into 1 plus 16 omega square. So minus 6 upon root 8 divided by 1 upon root 8. So this and this cancels. Then this is 1 plus 4 upon 8, 1 plus 16 upon 8. So this becomes minus 6 divided by 3 by 2 into 3. That is minus 6 divided by 9 into 2. Minus 12 divided by 9. 1.33. So here it will cut at minus 1.33. Is it clear? So let us stop today. Here we have completed what is known as a polar plot. Now tomorrow 2 hours class I have between 10 to 12. In that class I am going to cover the Nyquist plot, which is the extension of the polar plot only. So for Nyquist plot you have to have the basic knowledge of how to draw a polar plot. 90% of the Nyquist plot is the polar plot. Afterwards how to analyze it further. So that we are going to study. Also we are going to find out what is known as use the polar plot for relative stability analysis. So how to use the polar plot for relative stability analysis, that also we can see tomorrow. So with that I am going to stop here today. Thank you.